We just went through a little segment here, especially off of our max, we've gained like roughly 7 miles an hour, club head speed.
Hey there, Coach Ryan Roblard here, and you heard that correctly. I had a player gain 7 miles an hour in one session. The key piece of equipment was my Smart to Move force plates, and the key thing that we did was clarify a concept around how we use the ground. So this can be a short summary of a video or of a lesson with a player where we did some before data, we talked about a few drills, we did some after data, and we saw a massive jump in club head speed. So let's dive into it. We're going right back into the lesson, and let's see how we did it.
First thing we noticed, we were set up on the heels, right? We always want to set up on the heels. When we went through that analogy of jumping, right? Jumping as high as we can versus fast as we can, what part of the foot are we jumping off of?
The pads of our feet.
Jumping off the pads of the feet, right? That is the spot that's going to help us generate the most force.
So let's look at some pre-shot data, and specifically what I want us to focus in on is this yellow graph here. And we're going to look at the peak amount of weight that he's applying into the ground, but we're also going to look at the size of the graph as well. So I'm just going to zoom back in on him here. And right now what we have is, so this is where he's going to start his jump, and the cue here is for him to try to jump as high as he can. Regardless of how long it takes him, the cue is just, can you jump as high as you can? And what we'll see him come and he'll squat down. And then what we'll see is he will achieve his peak of that yellow graph, which is his peak vertical force at roughly this point. And what I want you to look at when he's at this spot here is on the right-hand side, you see that yellow number of 175. That is the percentage of his body weight that he's applying into the ground. So the first thing we did was part of our baseline was the cue, Dave, I want you to try to jump as high as you can. And what we can see here, and when we come back, we check his other one after, is from the moment that he started to jump, let's look at how wide that graph is. And when he peaks, we're going to see him peak at 176, I believe was the highest, percent of his body weight. Hey, here's a little secret. Every week I send an email on Thursday mornings that gives you 3 things. It gives you 1 golf tip, it gives you 1 quote or stat, and gives you 1 little extra to help you play better golf and practice more effectively. To sign up, there's a link in my description. Make sure you get signed up because on Thursday morning, the next one's coming. So with a little bit of context, let's look at a before golf swing. And all we're going to look at again as the yellow graph is when it peaks and how much force we're applying. So what we're going to notice here when we start, the timing of the force is a little bit late, but more importantly, that total percentage yellow number on the right-hand side is 135% of his body weight. And we know before when he was trying to jump as high as he could, we were seeing 176, and when that translates over the golf swing, we were seeing 135. So definitely an opportunity here to change how he reacts to apply force to help him increase his club head speed.
And also, if we're pinning ourselves back on our heels, then we end up thrusting and we get up on our toes.
Right.
So the analogy that we have right now, go ahead and stand on your toes for me and then land on your pads, okay? Go ahead and sit up for me. Now from there, we're making our backswing. And what's the cue from here?
The cue is to jump as fast and explosively with my left leg.
Because what we noticed previous, we don't do a ton of loading on our right-hand side, which is fine.
Yeah.
If we load on our left side, let's just make sure that that's the driver that's going to keep us moving as up and as explosively as we can.
Right.
All right, we're back looking at his data here. So let's take a look at something pretty cool. So remember, previously what we saw was a max peak vertical of 176%, okay? Now what we see here, now the cue this time was getting him to feel like he could jump as high, or previously was as high as he can, now was as fast as he can. And we can already tell by looking at this graph how much narrower the amount of time it was for him to achieve his max. And if we look at this, he went from 176 to now what we're going to see is his max vertical force is 212% of his body weight. So that was the cue. And if we look at this move here, it is a very quick, explosive move. And it's funny, if you watch this again, he's not jumping very high, but it's amazing how much force he is able to produce with the cue of trying to jump as fast as he can, as opposed to trying to jump as high as he can. So we went from 176 to 211%. We gained 35% more vertical force, which is one of the keys why we gained that 8 miles an hour with this iron. Hey, thanks for watching this video. I just have a quick favor to ask. Can you make sure that you subscribe to this channel? Always like my videos, and make sure you hit that little bell to make sure that you get notifications when I drop more videos just like this. And as always, if you ever have any questions, please post them in the comments down below. I respond to every comment. Now back to your video.
So go ahead and set up for me again. So we go on our toes, we land on the pads of our feet, we make our backswing, and then that triggers that explosion, right? Right now it feels a little unique, but I like, as we've gone along, we've had some jumps or we've had some swings where we're falling over, we're losing our balance.
Yeah.
I'm totally on board with that, because the more we've done it, the more we've seen these jumps, right? Like, we're hoping for 90, but 88, 89, 87, like just a ton. We flipped a switch.
Right.
From like 81 and 82 miles an hour to in the high 80s, okay?
Yep.
You think?
So now let's take a look at the after. So again, first thing we'll notice here, and I know I didn't have the foot up previously, but he's a lot more centered in the ball of his foot because we did that toe to pad setup. Now what we'll notice is as we make our golf swing here, we're going to see this was with the exact same club and the timestamp. This is like 35 minutes later. His vertical force is peaking earlier, and it's also a lot higher. It's 157%, and this was solely changed off the cue where we're getting on our feet, and also the understanding of trying to push as fast as we can.
I think you got 90 in you.
You can try.
So here's what we're gonna do. Let's go ahead, let's prime right here. So set up right here for me off the pads.
Oh.
And let's do just a few of those really the fast as we can.
Right.
Just as fast as we can, that jump. Good, let's do it again. Explosive as fast as we can get in the air. Good, all right, here's the one. So let's set up to a golf shot. We'll get on the pads. Ball position okay there?
Yeah.
Okay. So once we're ready, we're gonna go on our toes. We're gonna land on the pads. We make that backswing, that's that left leg jump as fast as we can.
So a quick breakdown on what I mean by toes to pads. So this player was someone that set up on their heels a lot, and we talked through why that was an ideal when we use that analogy of where we want to push off on our feet if we were to try to jump as high or as fast as we can. And because of that, we kind of figured like he never really knew where his toes actually felt like in his golf swing. He knew what his heels felt like, so that's why we went up on our toes. And then when we said drop down to pads, when he felt like he was falling on the ball of his feet, but he felt his entire foot was on the ground. So that's why we're kind of using like an example of the find the middle drill, which I use a lot, where I have players set up, find one extreme, which for him was his heels, and then find the other extreme, which would be going onto his toes, and then falling onto the pads of the feet. This was something I actually prescribed him for him to do in all of his sessions and practices afterwards, was to make sure we get in that right spot of the foot. And the way that we were doing that was this find the middle drill, which for him was kind of summarized as get on the toes and then fall on the pads of the feet.
I love the move. I love the move.
Oh.
So we look at the numbers we started with, right? We were 81, 82.
Yeah.
Now we're consistently 86, 87. We can build off of that.
Okay.
Very well done. Very well done.
So as we look at wrapping up this video, that last swing, the reason why I encourage him about him losing his balance is because I like the fact that he was trying to get outside of his comfort zone, and he was really trying to apply a ton of force. So in that scenario, if he lost his balance, he was swinging that club 7 miles an hour faster than he was used to. That's why I didn't care that much. So that's why I encouraged him as we went through. So we captured some pre-data, right? We found out that he was set up on his heels. We found that he wasn't pushing as much as he could. We clarified the analogy of pushing as hard as we could or trying to jump as high as we can versus as fast as we can. Now, the most important thing about all this is that I had the tech to measure it. And that's why I really love using my Smart to Move force plates, because with this player, it's unlikely if he came to me beforehand that I would have ever been able to identify how he was creating his power and what power leaks he had. And this was a 1 hour session that I just showed you the last few minutes of our session, where we went from 81 to 82 miles an hour with that club up to 88 miles an hour. And I think we even hit 89 miles an hour once. You have to be able to measure this stuff. That's why I really like using my force plates. And that's why as I continue to release videos like this, I'm seeing players gain 5, 6, 7, 8 miles an hour in a session. So that was my breakdown. Coach Ryan Rollbar signing off. Make sure you subscribe to this podcast when I drop more, or subscribe to my YouTube channel and my podcast. So I drop more videos like this one. You're the first to get it. Thanks a lot and have a great day.